Well, it was a nice night. My little campsite area here. Very quiet. No people, no animals, no nothing. We're getting a good early start this morning. It's getting warmer out here. It's supposed to be pretty hot today, so it's about 6:45 and I'm cruising on. I've got a good couple 1,000-foot climb first thing this morning, actually probably more than that. So I wanted to just get that done before it got too hot. So I'm off listening to the birds, looking at the weird plants I haven't seen yet. And I think it's gonna be a good day today. It's 7:45 in the morning and I am on top of Floyd Mountain. And I'm really glad I did that early in the morning when it's pretty cool out. That's a good solid climb right there. Don't have much of a view up here, but I mean, off into the distance. Don't have too many vistas, but it's beautiful up here on the ridge. Just nice and sunny. I can't believe how high the sun is, 7:45, but it's starting to get warm already. Well, dang. I thought I was up on top of Floyd Mountain, but not quite yet. Well, I just passed Cornelius Shelter, just a short bit before the streams there, and now I'm doing a short climb up to Black Rock. There's supposed to be some good views up there, and then I'll head down to a creek where I can get a little bit of water. There's a pretty big stretch, I think the next almost 9 miles or something in that realm where there's no water, so I need to make sure I have got plenty, and then I'll have another opportunity to get some before camp tonight. I'll probably have to carry it a ways, but I don't think I have too much climbing to do with it, so it's always always kind of a balancing act. I'm always trying to carry as little water as I really need to, especially if I've got some climbing to do, carry all that extra weight with me. But I also, don't want to run out of water, and, I don't want to carry so little that I have to stop at every water source. Just waste the time. So anyway, I've got about a ½ liter left, which is more than enough. I'll get up here and see what Black Rock looks like and get a little more water. Hiked all yesterday and did not see one soul out here. But today, after a couple hours now, finally crossed paths with some people. There's a guy, Mr. President, who had a couple out here. I think he's kind of just introducing them to the place. They said they were getting back on trail. This was their first day. Let's see, what are we doing here? Black Rock Overlook, 200 feet. Well, I guess I better go check that out. I don't think he was planning on continuing to hike much out here, but he's gonna get them started. So, I don't know, I may see them off and on since they're hiking the same direction, but of course, they're just now starting. So they're kind of where I was physically, 4 weeks ago. And so, they'll probably be moving substantially slower for, at least a couple weeks till they kind of get their legs under them. Anyway, I'm going to flip this camera around and see what views we've got. Black Rock, here I come. Oh yeah. Right on. What a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful, magnificent morning. Oh, what a great cool breeze too. Well, I believe I am finally at the top of Apple Orchard Mountain. Getting relatively close to another shelter that I might stop at for a few minutes. But I just came across this big old thing. This is an FAA tower, and it's supposed to be great views up here on top of the mountain. I seriously doubt that we're allowed to get on top of the FAA tower, but that'd be cool. What a behemoth thing out here in the middle of nowhere. That's awesome. Wow. See up there for a long ways. I'm here at Thunderhill Shelter, and I'm not going to stop and walk down. It's not very far, almost, but anyway. But the reason I'm videoing is because I thought I would tell you the information I had from last year did not say anything about having a bear box here. So that is awesome for those of you coming through. It probably means there's been some activity here that hasn't been positive, and so Thunderhill Shelter has a bear-resistant box. You can put your food and stuff, all your stuff that smells and everything in at night. And there's some several tent sites and stuff around there. And I think just slightly down here as well, there's some tent sites. So yeah, plenty of room. Make sure you utilize that. I hope in this video you can tell how wonderful this trail right here looks. It is trimmed down on the sides, like low, not just sort of partially. Everything in the way is cleared out of the way, been cut, set aside. I mean, this is beautiful. I just 400, 500 feet back, I ran into a maintenance guy, just a volunteer, one of the clubs out here that volunteers all along the AT. And he was, he was working hard. 64-year-old guy with a lot of vigor, and we had a pretty long conversation. Anyway, he did confirm with me that not only the ATC, but also the Forest Service and state parks and everybody basically told all of the volunteer clubs along the AT that their volunteer agreements had been suspended, and they were not to be out here working on the AT at all. And it's pretty obvious, that the vast majority of what I've hiked so far this year looks like it has not been taken care of whatsoever for ages now. So that's why there have been so many blowdowns and things to walk around and, just walking through weeds and trying to find the trail, and blazes that are missing or half missing, all that kind of stuff. And these guys, I think, have been itching to get out here, and now they're starting to. He said they were just allowed. This is the first week he's been allowed to be out here. So, my gosh, that guy did one heck of a job. And I guess he said he maintains about 1.5 miles of this, and I was right there at the end where he was. So I think I have a distance here of at least 1 mile or so of gorgeous looking maintained trail. So thank you very much to him and to everybody doing this. It's a lot of work now, so I'm gonna, obviously I don't live anywhere close to here, so I can't really, would be very difficult for me to make it out here and actually do work on the AT, although I could if I wanted to make a trip out of it. But one thing that I can do is join any one of these volunteer organizations out here, any one of them along any stretch of the AT, and I can donate money, I mean, even if all I did was donate, 15 bucks or become a member for $20 in one of these or something. And, any little bit is going to help them to keep this maintained. So I think that's something I definitely need to do, and it'd be pretty awesome if everybody that utilizes this and enjoys the fruits of the effort these guys are putting in would do the same thing. So I don't know, give it a thought. Really cool overlook here. Hey, how are you? Doing great. Wow. There were two young ladies there that overlook right when I was walking up. They were walking up right kind of behind me, and I'd say they were wearing sundresses, and they looked all made up and stuff. And I said, they didn't have backpacks on. I said, where'd you all come from? They said, oh, the parking lot on the other side of that rock. And I'm like, oh, okay, I thought I was in the middle of nowhere. They said, where'd you come from? And I said, North Carolina. And they said, you live in North Carolina? I said, no, that's where I started hiking last month. And I said, I think I had a little harder trip getting here than you did, hiking in from North Carolina. And they drove up and came out from behind that rock. So anyway, it was funny to us. All right, the trail's still awesome, but I've obviously left that gentleman's maintenance area because I'm back into, overgrown and things laying down everywhere and all that kind of stuff. But boy, it sure is pretty through here. When you're hiking a long trail, there are 3 different kinds of hikers. People call themselves or call each other. One is a day hiker. So, somebody that just, whatever, drove up from local town or whatever and jumped on the trail and has a small pack, maybe has a little picnic lunch or something and a bottle of water, and they're just gonna hike in for the day. They might even stay the night somewhere and hike back out, but basically, that's a day hiker. Then you got a section hiker, and a section hiker traditionally, at least the way most people think of it when you say you're a section hiker, is, that you're doing some little section. So, maybe you're starting at this particular highway and going to this particular highway, and you're going to be out for a week or maybe even 2, so you're doing something fairly substantial. And then, of course, there's a through hiker, who's hiking the whole dang trail. Now, tons of people call themselves through hikers and then don't finish the trail or don't even do that much of the trail. Their intention is to through hike and they don't through hike. So the problem is the person who, well, let me just say it this way. When people ask me what I am, hey, am I section hiking? Am I through hiking? I don't consider myself either one. I'm certainly not a through hiker because I'm not starting and hiking the whole darn trail at once. But I also don't consider myself a section hiker because I'm doing a whole lot more than just a little section, So I always tell people I'm a wannabe through hiker. I want to do the whole trail at once, and I'm trying my best, but there's no way I can have that amount of time out here. So I'm just doing as much as I possibly can to finish it, because I just don't feel like I fit into any of those categories. So the maintenance guy that I was talking about, he asked me that question. I gave him the same response, and he said, no, you're a lasker. And I said, a lasker? And he said, yeah, you're a long, you can figure out what the A stands for, a long section hiker. So you're hiking a really long section. And I said, yeah, I like that. I think that kind of fits me. So I'm not just a section hiker. I'm hiking a really long section, so I'm a lasker. So, I don't know. I've never heard that before. Probably people will look at me sideways if I tell them that, but I'm going to try that on for size from now on and see what happens. Back in the Smokies, I talked about trying to do this new thing where I would hike in the mornings, get up pretty early, hike pretty hard, get as far as I really could. Then when it got warm in the middle of the day, and when I started to get worn out, either way or both, stopping, taking a little bit of a break, maybe even a long break, and then waiting until I was kind of feeling good again, maybe even, soaking my feet and all that, eating lunch, and then get back on the trail and hike a little bit later in the day when it was cooler. And, the first time I tried that, it worked really great. That was my first 20-mile day that I had done. So, anyway, I proceeded to do that off and on, and when it was necessary, and it worked really well. But I got out of the habit when it got cold. Last week and a half ago, whenever it was, for those few days. And so, today I thought, it was pretty warm out. Got up early this morning and did some really good hiking. Got in just about 12 miles before right about noon, so that's great for me. And then it started to get warm, and I thought, my feet were killing me in these new shoes, so I don't know. I still haven't figured them out, but anyway, I just stopped, soaked them in the spring, ice cold, had some lunch and just relaxed. And so I feel pretty good, ready to get started again, and we'll see how that works out. I may or may not continue to do that, but I'll try it again today. I think I've gotten into a little bit of a bad habit out here on the trail. So most of the time I'm just hiking along and I see something or I think of something and I want to kind of journal, and so I flip on the video camera and I just say it. But every once in a while I kind of get thinking about it and I sort of can't sort it out exactly. Not sure if it sounds too rambling or if it's really just something dumb I don't even need to say or whatever. And so I'll stop and just, I'll just think about it for a while before I'll record it. And occasionally what happens is I will, if I'm trying to work through it, is I'll kind of recite it, a couple of times or say something and see how it sounds. And often I'll do that out loud, because it's just sometimes easier to discern what sounds right or what's too much or whatever if you can actually hear it. So the issue that creates is that a handful of times I have run across someone when I'm really focused and not really paying attention and I don't realize it, and I'm just wandering along talking to myself. And usually I hear somebody or see somebody and I stop before they come by, but a handful of times since I've been out here, that's happened where, all of a sudden they're like right there, and here I am just wandering along talking to myself. And I've gotten a couple of pretty weird looks. When I was soaking my feet in the spring here just 20 minutes ago, a woman came by and I didn't hear her, and she was not talking, so I wouldn't have heard her really. But anyway, she came up over the hill and said, she kind of went like this, and she said, "Oh my gosh, you scared me." She said, "All of a sudden I heard you, but I didn't see you." I was just sitting there talking to myself. trying to figure out what I wanted to say, and anyway, so maybe I need to start trying to do that in my head a little bit more, so I don't create a following of people out here who think there's a lunatic on the loose. Well, I'm coming down to it. I think I've been, I don't know, I'm somewhere in the ballpark of about 16, 17 miles today. And here's a big campsite, and there should be water. Yeah, down here. It says 300 feet, so I'm assuming that's water. And then, I don't know. I'm gonna chill out here again because my feet are hurting again, and decide what I'm gonna do. I think maybe I'll hike just another maybe couple of miles, get myself up on a ridge for the night.